What an interesting question. Well, as far as the 21st century people, modern people, as I said before, the supernatural does not impinge on our world in the way that it was thought to impinge on the world 2,000 years ago. And so there were, therefore, miracles that Jesus performed, and especially the resurrection, and the walking on the water, and turning water into wine. A number of those miracles seem to the modern person to be beyond what they can easily or accept as being true. That is to say, historically true, or happened. When you think of it 2,000 years ago, though, you had to deal with two things. One is that people saw what they saw. And then secondly, people interpreted what they saw in the light of their own perception or experience. And so, for example, the walking on the water is a very interesting example, is a very interesting textual issue, because in that story we see this event recorded in 3 of the 4 Gospels, including John's Gospel, and none of them agree. It starts off with the event being very close to land, but by the time Matthew gets hold of it, it's in the middle of the lake. In John's Gospel, it is close to land, and in Mark's Gospel and Matthew's Gospel, it is over the other side of the lake. And so changes occur in the actual recounting of it. And obviously, somewhere there was an eyewitness. And we say, well, who was the eyewitness? Well, strangely enough, it is John's Gospel that gives us the clearest eyewitness account. In terms of Mark and Matthew and Luke, their accounts are less precise and are more interpretive. For example, in Matthew's Gospel, it isn't only that Jesus walks on water, but Peter decides to try it, and of course, founders. And that is a story which the early church uses to reflect on the nature of faith and so on. So it becomes, it's a parable. But you can see how the story of the walking on the water emerges and develops, and that is indicative of just where. In fact, walking on water is impossible. And you say, well, you didn't need to tell me that. But the reality is, the difficulty of walking on water is more than merely the displacement of a person's weight by displacing that amount of water. But it is, even if you could stand on the water, you still couldn't move. Because walking demands friction. You depend on friction to be able to walk. And water doesn't provide any friction. And so what would happen if you tried to if you were able to stand on water and you took a step, your back foot would slide out and you'd do the splits and disappear amongst the waves. And you say, well, but Christ can do anything because he's the Son of God. Well, that is your interpretation. That is a step that you can't take historically. And so when you look at the actual text in John, it doesn't say at all that Jesus was walking on the water. But he went to pass them by, and he came and clambered into the boat, and immediately they were at land, where they were going, where they were supposed to meet him. So John, and John's Gospel does this several times. It seems as if John's Gospel is written to correct some of the excesses and accounts of the other Gospels. because he was an eyewitness.